So this is such an exciting project, interactive arena football. We have with us Sohrob Farudi, the CEO of the FCFL, Fan Controlled Football League. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Go ahead and give us your nutshell version of the project and the basic concept behind what you're doing.
Sure. Really, the idea is to kind of blend the worlds of video gaming, esports, and fantasy sports, and traditional sports, and get fans closer to the sports that they love than they ever have before, all the way down to actual real-time play calling. So we actually had a pilot project in 2017. We owned a team in the Indoor Football League, which was a 10-team league. 9 of those teams were traditionally run, and our team, we actually let fans control the team. So fans actually voted on the city. We ended up in Salt Lake City. Fans hired our coach. We live streamed interviews, and fans hired the coach. Fans picked our players. And then we built a real-time app, and fans actually called all of the offensive plays for the team. We integrated with Twitch, so we actually had a kind of like Twitch Plays Pokemon. This was Twitch Plays Football. You got to call plays in Twitch chat. We had a successful run. We had people engaging from 100 different countries, and really some great coverage from the press and media, and people excited about what we're doing. And that's led us to move into the next phase, which is building an entirely fan-controlled league, where there'll be 8 teams. Fans will get to actually design those teams in terms of kind of the logos and naming, and all the way down to head coaches, and we're going to do a fan-run draft. Fans are going to get to draft the players, and then fans will control these teams throughout the season. And really, what we're looking at is, we believe the future of sports is interactive, right? So what we're doing is creating the first of what we believe will be a lot of interactive sports leagues. We chose football because we're big football fans. We think this applies great in baseball. We think this applies great in cricket. I think there's some application even in soccer, less of strategic decision-making going on during the game of soccer, but as far as picking the players and the lineups, and even down to free kicks and shootouts at the end of the game, there's just a lot of things, substitutions, a lot of things that fans can get involved in. That that I think, as a sports fan, I think what's the beauty of this idea is, if you are a sports fan, you've had this feeling. This is not something we have to teach you. It's not something we have to convince you of. You have always wanted to make decisions for your favorite team, and I think that's what we're tapping into, is this passion of sports fans that they've always wanted. Really, at the end of the day, they've always wanted to make these decisions.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we've all felt that feeling. Anybody who's played Madden can agree with you, definitely. So walk me through some of the different services that your application is capable of.
Yeah, so look, the app itself, again, we had a pilot last season. And really, it was a couple of different mechanics, and I'll kind of discuss what it did, and then where it's going, and what led us to blockchain and kind of the tokenization of this platform, because I think at the end that's a pretty important topic here. We created an app that was similar to a little bit less Madden, a little more tech mobile, right? So the idea was, in the back end of the app, coach actually input his playbook. So these are all plays, when you're calling plays, these are all plays that the guys have practiced, that they're ready for, that they're actually going to be, playing in a game. And then as far as the way that the app worked, during the game, fans were served up 4 different diagrammed plays. And those plays came out of buckets that the coach actually had set up previously, based on down and distance, time on the clock, and score. And the coach would give a rating to each of those plays in those buckets. So some would pop up more often than others, but the idea was to give fans a choice, 2 runs and 2 passes. But really, the amazing part about this was, picking a play, seeing it diagrammed out on the screen for you, and then knowing that your play got selected and watching it happen on the field. It doesn't matter if there was a million other people calling the play, you felt like you called it, right? So there's a connection to that play that you just can't get anywhere else. And then the rest of the things something that we created last year, we called it Fan IQ. So the idea, that we really talk a lot about is that not all fans are created equal. You have your casual fans, you have your kind of everyday fans, and you have your diehard, hardcore fans, right? And so what we really wanted to do was create a way for all of those fans to participate, for all of those fans to feel like their voice matters, but also create a way for the diehard fan, the guys that want to spend 5 hours a day on building their team and doing research, actually having more of an impact than your casual fan that's just coming in on game day and watching the game and calling plays. So we had something called Fan IQ, and Fan IQ basically was the scoring system and leaderboard system. So as a fan, as you consumed content, as you took polls, as you voted, as you called plays and gained yards and scored touchdowns, you moved up the Fan IQ rankings. That's what we're tokenizing. So the idea here is that as a fan, this is now that we have 8 teams, you're going to be able to choose a team to follow along for the season. And not only are you going to compete against the 7 other teams, but there's also this friendly competition with the fans of your own team, because at the end of the day, you want to prove that you're the best fan, right? So that's what Fan IQ does. It's now turned into the fan token. But the idea is the more fan tokens you own, the more fan tokens you control, the more voting power you're going to have, the more access to behind-the-scenes stuff. We want to do really cool. We're building out a venue in Vegas. So we're going to have some really fun experiences behind the scenes. Come hang out with the players. Come check out the venue. So really kind of those types of kind of once-in-a-lifetime type experiences, that's going to be all part of this. And then the other thing that we've done on the play calling side is we've actually created a way for play calling to go down to the individual fan. So we have a play call where everybody gets to vote, but we can also take it all the way down and say one person gets a vote. So you can be sitting on your couch, you'll get a notification, you're calling the next play, right? So we can. So those would be the
pressure. No pressure.
It's a lot of pressure, but it's a lot of fun, right? I mean,
yeah.
So that's where we're trying to get to. The idea is that we want to be inclusive, right? This is a sports league. We want as many fans as possible to be part of this, but we also don't want you to feel so lost that you're now one of a million people calling a play, and you're like, my voice doesn't really count anymore. So we can now drill it back down to the individual and allow you to have that experience of like, wow, my voice really does count. So I think that's the dynamic that we're playing with.
Very interesting. Good stuff. Okay, so let's get into the token. What are some of the functions of the token within or maybe outside of the app, maybe web-based, or you mentioned merchandise. Does that work within the app too?
Yeah, so the idea for the token is really becomes the virtual currency of the league, right? So this is not only will it be kind of the voting power, so the more you have, the more votes you'll have, the more access you'll have. We have something called the virtual front office, which we ran last year, which was a subscription-based model. So it was like two-way video with coaches and players, and fans could learn how to break down game film and scout players and do advanced scouting. So you'll be able to use tokens to actually join the virtual front office, and then merchandise as well. And there'll be specific merchandise that will only be available for fan token holders, right? So the idea is to kind of create this reason that you want to own and be a part of the fan token ecosystem. And then outside of it, we're talking right now to a bunch of sponsors. The idea is to bring sponsors in, allow the fan tokens to be used in other ecosystems. And like I said, at the end of the day, we're building a platform. The fan token, it stands for Fan Access Network. So we're building the Fan Access Network, and the token is going to power this network. And the idea is we want this network to be far and wide across multiple sports. Obviously, we'd love to be the ones that bring these interactive sports to the world, but we're not opposed to licensing the platform, right? So maybe we license the platform out to Korea, and they do a fan-controlled baseball league in Korea, right? And they use our platform and the fan token to actually run the platform. So that's really the dynamics with the fan token. Is it becomes kind of the currency of the league, both in a virtual way and in a kind of the real world way as well for merchandise and tickets and things like that.
All right. Can you go over the token allocation for us, specifically the plans for the 15% marketing development fund? That looks kind of interesting.
Yeah, so 50% of the tokens are going to be sold in the pre-sale and the main sale. We set aside another 20% for founders, advisors, and future hires. We really believe we're going to be creating value in the network and in the utility token that we're building, and we want everybody that's participating to help build this to actually have a reason to make this more valuable. As far as the other two buckets of 15%, 15% is reserved across the first 3 seasons as tokens that we're actually going to be giving out in the app itself. So again, as you play, as you consume content, as you call plays, that'll be given out into the app as reward mechanisms in the app. And then the last 15% is on the partnership side. Look, there's a ton of people. We're going to be making some huge announcements. We have a multi-year broadcast deal that we're going to be announcing here in the next couple of weeks. We have a big agency, one of the biggest in the United States, that's getting involved to sell sponsorships and bring celebrities and influencers. And the idea is to really create, we look at this as kind of a wholly owned sports and entertainment property. So it's not just the league itself, right? We're partnering with a production company, so they're going to produce a bunch of content. So you'll be able to follow the players and see behind the scenes, and kind of like the Hard Knocks meets high tech world that we're creating. And so there's a lot of players in this ecosystem, and we think the more different parts of that we can bring in and incentivize them with fan tokens, so they can actually also participate in that way, the more robust that the entire network's going to be. So that 15% is really reserved for bringing in high-end NFL players, bringing in celebrities and influencers. We're looking at entertainers like, one I can tell you, like Snoop Dogg, for example. We're talking to his people. So, different people like that, not necessarily 100% in the football world, but in the sports and entertainment world. And the idea is to get everybody like that involved in building this league. So that's what that 15% is reserved for.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so I noticed that the pre-sale succeeded very well in securing $5.2 million from more than 600 investors. Do you have a target revenue for the public sale?
Yeah, so we're looking at a total hard cap of it's not set yet, but it'll be between 25 and 30 million. So we're looking at we raised 5 million in that pre-sale. We've got a private sale going on right now. And the idea is to raise another somewhere between 10 and 15 million in this private sale. So we'll be at 15 to 20 million. And then in the public sale, we want to raise somewhere between another 5 and 10 million. So that in March, that'll be the target.
All right. Let's see. Is there a date set yet for the public token sale?
We're targeting the middle of March. I think we've thrown out there about March 21st, something like that is what we're looking for. Really, it's predicated on these announcements that we're going to make. So we have, again, these 2 big partnerships. I think they're going to be game changers, not only for our business, but I think this is 2 big partnerships that I don't think too many crypto and blockchain companies have been able to announce is these kind of very high-level partnerships outside of the blockchain ecosystem, right? So I think this is going to give real-world validity to the league that we're building and the blockchain that we're implementing and the token that we're implementing. And I want to make sure that we have enough time after announcing that to really get people involved. Again, this is a sports league. We don't want 500 investors. We want 5 million investors, right? Because we want everybody to be part of this what we're building. We really think this is the future of sports. So we just want to make sure we have enough time after we make those announcements to get people well aware of what we're doing. So, but I think middle of March, end of March is a good target.
All right, excellent. So how about some ways, because from what I've read, I understand that the token sale is the only way to obtain tokens. What are some ways that fans can earn tokens outside of that sale?
So the big ways are going to be participation. At the end of the day, we want fans to participate. This is going to be a participatory league. So we're going to start off in the very early stages is actually fans get to design the teams. So we're building that funnel right now. It'll be live once we launch the token. And the idea here is that we've got one team. Our last team from last year was the Salt Lake Screaming Eagles. So we're going to be bringing over the Screaming Eagles. So they'll be the first team in the league. That was already a fan-designed team. Some great press out there. If you haven't seen it, I'll be happy to share. But we went through basically a name vote. So we let fans submit any name they wanted to submit. As long as it was PC and PG, we let it get into the list. So we had some of the most ridiculous names you've ever seen. And for an open period, and we knew at some point we were going to get trolled, right? Because you can't not get trolled if you leave the internet to just do whatever they want.
Yeah.
So the leading vote getter was Teamy McTeamface. Second was the Stormin' Mormons, because we were in Utah. And we had the Electric Emus and the Salt Lake Spaghetti Monsters. And we just had some really, honestly, I like some crazy, creative, fun names. But what we did, that was an open kind of voting period to get to a top 10 list. And once we got the top 10 list, that's when we shut it down. We said, okay, look, now if you want to vote, you've got to register. So you got to give us your details. You got to really be serious that you're going to be part of this thing. You got to download the app. And so what that did was it kind of took, the trolls out of it, because trolls are only going to do it if it's easy. They're not going to do it if it's hard, right? So the trolls went away. And we got the people that really cared about this, and we ended up with actually a pretty, normal name, the Screaming Eagles, right? So, which had some real history. The guy that submitted it, his dad was in World War II, and there's the Screaming Eagles that actually stormed the beach. So there was a tie to Utah and what happened in this part of history. So really kind of a cool story, and fans rallied around it. And that's what we're going to do now. So these 7 new teams that are coming, fans are going to get to do this again, right? The idea is you're going to go through a process where you'll kind of decide which of these, teams 1 through 7 you'll be part of, and then you're going to be building it with a group of other fans, and you're going to name it, and you're going to design the logo, and you're going to pick the color scheme, and you're going to be able to design the uniforms and the helmets, and so it becomes like you just bought your own football team, and now you get to create it right from scratch, and that's really what we want to let fans be a part of.
So like these people who are helping design it, are you saying like the winning designs are being rewarded with
yes.
tokens then?
Yes, exactly right. Yep.
What are some other ways that people can contribute and earn more tokens?
So we are going to be, a couple of the ideas we're throwing around, I'm fairly certain we're going to do an airdrop. And that'll be part of a kind of a reward and referral program that we're going to be launching here in the next couple of weeks. I don't know if you're familiar with Current, if you saw that token sale. I think they did a really nice job. And then the other one, trying to remember what the name of it is, Maven, I believe. So both of those, I think, did some really great referral programs. It's not like totally open-ended. You can refer up to 10 people and get your stakes. And then that's at the end of the day, we want passionate football fans that are going to bring their friends in to be part of this as well. And the idea is to seed tokens to anybody that's doing that. So that'll be where I think a good way for people to participate before the token sale.
All right. So I understand that there aren't any plans to directly solicit exchanges to list the token, which makes sense because it's a utility token. So the concern for investment growth doesn't really play a pivotal role in your project as far as the cryptocurrency markets go, but a lot of the fans in our community are traders, so will this coin ever be listed on an exchange, or is your token value intended to be static and never listed?
No, so look, I think there's a fine line between kind of legality, right, and us going out. We're selling a utility token. We're building value and utility value in the network itself. So really what we're building is supply and demand, right? So the more fans that join this league and the more leagues we launch, the more teams we add to the league, there's going to be more demand for the token. There's going to be, the more things we allow this token to do, the more utility we add for the token itself. The utility value of the token will grow. While we can't actively go out and solicit exchanges, we also can't tell exchanges what to do, right? So is it possible that we're listed on exchange? It's absolutely possible. There's nothing we can do about it. It is an ERC20 token, so just by its very nature, it's at least tradable between peer-to-peer. There are definitely ways for the token to be exchanged, just because we're building it on the Ethereum network. But our goal is not price appreciation. Our goal is utility value, right? We want to make the fan token be incredibly valuable because of all the things you can do with it, whether it's in our league or it's in other leagues or partners that we bring to the table. The true value for the fan token is going to be in what you can do with it.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, you guys are bringing tons of value. I've looked through all of your stuff that you guys have put out there, and I really feel like your company is going to be very, very successful. So,
thank you.
Tell us about your tech background, other projects you're involved in. I understand that you were CEO of another company before this, or you currently are. I'm not too sure.
Sure.
What do you want us to know about you and your qualifications to run this company?
Look, I've been an entrepreneur since I was 6 years old, taking backpacks full of candy and Cokes to school and selling them. Right, so this is in my blood. I have two younger brothers. Our parents raised us to not be afraid to fail. I think at the end of the day, as an entrepreneur, that's the one thing that you need to be able to have in your wheelhouse is you just can't be afraid to fail, because when you make a big swing like this, I mean, this is. Look, I love what we're doing, but this is a crazy idea, right? I mean, anybody that I go talk to, that like you're building a fan-controlled.
It's a big undertaking. I mean, this is an immense task here.
It's a big deal. So you can't be scared by the fact that this is a startup, right? Now, look, at the end of the day, we believe we're going to be incredibly successful. I've been lucky enough to have some good success in my past. And I think even more so, I've been lucky enough to surround myself with a team that has had a bunch of success building companies, right? So our executive team, our founding team, we've built and sold multiple companies. You know, my background, I have a bachelor's in finance. I have a master's in information system from GW. I started out as a consultant at Accenture, and then I quickly moved into the startup world and kind of realized that I wanted to build my own company. And my brothers and I, in 2004, we started a company called FlipSwap. FlipSwap was... we kind of caught the wave of the smartphone, right? So we were in right place, right time. Our idea, we were actually the first company to license eBay sales data. So we actually had one of the first feeds from eBay to get their sales data in their electronics category. So what we were doing was building basically a real-time pricing mechanism to price used phones, used electronics in real time. Our big idea was we were going to take this into Best Buy, and we wanted you to walk in with your old computer and your old phone and maybe even your old golf clubs, trade them in for an instant store credit and buy whatever you wanted in the store. We quickly narrowed it down to mobile phones, and literally we were in Rockville, Maryland at the time, right outside of DC. We went door to door to cell phone shops saying, hey, we've got this program, you know, it's a real trade-in program, it's going to be great for sales. Anybody that walks in, just like you sell, you know, you go buy your new car and you can trade in your old one, we want to do the same thing for the mobile phone space. And so here's how it works. So anyway, we got people to do it, and just it really started picking up. We were able to, you know, raise successfully a little over $1 million in friends and family and angel money. In 2007, the company was growing like crazy. We moved out to LA. We raised a $14 million round of venture from RRE Ventures and NGen Partners, and we're able to have a successful exit in 2011. I got to move to Europe, so I was CEO, my brother was CFO, my youngest brother actually moved to Paraguay, he was our COO, he was selling a lot of our phones that we collected in South America. I got to live 2 years in Europe and expand the business into Europe. I was in 25 different countries. I've had a chance to do business internationally. I've had a chance to raise money. I've raised tens of millions of dollars in my career, and been lucky enough to have some really good outcomes. Not say I haven't had my share of failures either, right? I mean, anytime you're in the startup business, some of them just don't go the way you want them to. So I joined one, actually I didn't start. I joined a company called Cvolution, which was a web analytics company. This was right after I'd sold my company FlipSwap. And I spent 2 years there, and I just couldn't get the traction that I wanted. I raised some money, we built the product, I thought it was a really slick product, but we just couldn't get the business to get off the ground. So I left after 2 years. Didn't go out of business, but I wasn't able to add the kind of juice that I wanted to add to that company.
Well, hey, 9 fail and 1 succeeds, and that's all you need, right?
That's exactly right. But I got really passionate about this idea, kind of that 2011, 2012 time frame. And then I was lucky enough to run into 2 guys. So Ray Austin, who you've seen in our material, Ray played in the NFL for 5 years. He went to University of Tennessee, played with Peyton Manning, was a defensive captain there. After his football career as a successful actor, he's been on Chicago Fire and Chicago PD and hundreds of commercials. He was building, funnily enough, he was building a real-time play calling app for fans to call plays in football games in Chicago about 5 years ago. And I was talking to one of his buddies. I got introduced to this guy named Tony Parrish, who Ray played with for the Chicago Bears. And I told Tony, I was like, Tony, I have this crazy idea. I want fans to run a team. And Tony looked at me, he goes, that's a really terrible idea. I played in the league for 10 years. I would never want fans to run a team. But he goes, but I played with a guy in Chicago named Ray. I'm going to introduce you because I think he's doing something similar. So, Tony connected us. Ray and I fell in love. We're like, man, we are like literally thinking the same thing here. Let's do this. And then I started Googling and, really getting passionate about it. And I came across an article in 2008 where a couple of guys from Miami University came up with this idea. They called it Project Franchise. And they wanted to let fans control a minor league baseball team. And so they actually did something. They had a deal with Bleacher Report, and they had SB Nation, and they had a blog going, and they had couple 10,000 fans that were interested in helping. They never could get it off the ground. It was a really bad time where the financial markets collapsed, and they couldn't find the money to buy a team. But there was an article in the New York Times that I came across that said, this guy Grant Cohen and his partner, blah blah blah. So I looked up Grant on LinkedIn. He happened to be in LA. I just hit him on LinkedIn. I said, Grant, I want to do this in football. I saw that you were trying to do it in baseball. He wrote me back immediately. He's like, I've never got this idea out of my head. It's been, 8 years. Yes, I want to meet you. Let's talk about this. So, we're able to have Grant. Grant's an incredibly successful entrepreneur, has had multiple startups and exits in the mobile ad space and video game space. And I've been lucky enough to just find people that have the shared passion of what it is we're trying to build, right? This real life video game for fans. And then we've been able to surround ourselves, on the advisory board and investor side with some just amazing guys from the NFL. And, you've seen, Manish Jha ran mobile at the NFL for a long time, was at ESPN before that. Matt Wolf was head of esports and gaming and partnerships at Coca-Cola. Mark Irace was the chief marketing officer at FanDuel. All of these guys are investors. All of these guys are believers that this is the future of sports. The doors that they can open and the access they can get us has just been, unparalleled, right? So I think we've been able to put together not only a strong kind of founding team and technology team, but a really strong advisory and investment early. And these guys have been with us. This isn't like they're in it just because we're doing a token sale. These guys have been with us for the last, we've been working on this for now almost 3 years. They've been with us from the beginning, right? They've been big believers in what we're doing from day one. And then they're still big believers in the direction that this is headed. So there's a ton of support there from, I think, the right people to make this happen.
Oh, yeah. And Ray Austin has been just an absolute delight in all of his videos. I mean, he's all over the place.
Whatever video you see, when you see Ray, that is Ray off camera also. He never turns off. And he is always like that. He is just an unbelievable guy. He's so fun to be around.
You can't make up that kind of joy. That guy is just wonderful. He is wonderful. Just keep that coming.
Absolutely.
All right. So let's see. Let's get into the gameplay. Explain, for those who don't already know, some of the differences between outdoor football and in the NFL and arena football.
Sure. Well, and we're taking it one step further. We're kind of even tweaking the arena game. So outdoor football, obviously, 11 on 11. Games tend to last, 3 to 4 hours. You have, 4 quarters, longer half times. What we're doing in fan-controlled football, and which is a little bit similar to arena, it's a condensed game. So instead of playing on a 100-yard field in the indoor game you play on a 50-yard field. There's padded walls around the league. The end zones are the same. They're 10-yard end zones. But in our game, in fan-controlled football, we're going to take this game down to between an hour and a half. The idea is to make it consumable. You don't have to set aside half your day to watch a football game. You can get in, you can get out. It becomes very accessible. We're going to do more like soccer. We're going to do 2 running halves with a very short halftime in between. And then we're actually going to be eliminating the kicking game. Kicking game takes a ton of time. Nobody really likes it. Nobody wants to see missed extra points and missed field goals. And, kickoffs are, the NFL's been trying to get rid of kickoffs by changing the way where they kick off from. So there aren't any returns because that's when people get hurt and that's when the most concussions happen. So we're just going to take it a step further. We're going to get rid of the kicking game completely. What that dynamic changes, interestingly enough, is when you score a touchdown. So instead of kicking an extra point, and instead of doing what the NFL and college does, if you go for 2, you kind of line up your whole team, and you're going from 2 yards out to get in the end zone. Ray had this idea, in practice, when these guys practice, whether it's high school, college, even the pros, there is a huge emphasis on one-on-one drills, right? So the defensive back against the wide receiver, quarterback has the ball, quarterback throws it, and it's the DB and the wide receiver going one-on-one. Ray said that's the most intense drill that he's faced. The rest of the team lines up to watch these guys go at it one-on-one. There's a lot of drama, a lot of jawing back and forth. So we wanted to bring that into the game itself. So our extra points for 1-point and 2-point conversion are actually going to be one-on-one. So the defensive team, the fans are going to choose a defensive guy. The offensive team, the fans are going to choose an offensive guy. And the quarterback's going to take a snap from the center, and he's only going to have 3 seconds, and he's got to throw the ball. So this is going to be kind of the drama of the guys getting to talk, shit to each other before the game. They get to actually, jaw after the game. And I think it's really going to create an interesting dynamic, not only for fans, but just another piece of excitement that's different than watching a kicker go up and shank an extra point.
So what you're doing with the teams is very interesting, and correct me if I'm wrong, but these teams aren't going to be tied to a geographical location, but rather tied to the fans that essentially created them. So loyalties will lie not with, say, your hometown, but instead your level of involvement in creation of the team, the design, the roster, the coaches, all of it. Is that accurate?
That's absolutely the case. We look at this again more like a video game, right? So the idea here is, when you go play any video game, you're going to pick a character. What are you drawn to, right? You're drawn to the color scheme, or you're drawn to the look and feel, or you're drawn to the backstories that that they create for these teams, right? So the idea is, we want our league to be international out of the gates, right? I mentioned before, we had people from literally 100 different countries watching and participating with a no-name team in a no-name league, Salt Lake City Screaming Eagles in the Indoor Football League, right? I mean, some of our diehard fans, literally from Australia and Germany and Hong Kong and, all over the place. So, our belief is that you can create a global league out of the gate. You don't necessarily need to be locked into a geography to have fans. Fans are going to gravitate to what they naturally feel. And so the way that we're going to be kind of building the 8 teams, with the fans' help, obviously, is kind of creating 8 different archetypes. So the idea is, just like and video games do a great job of this, right? Is you create these archetypes, and you have not good and evil necessarily, but you just have these different characteristics. So we're going to give fans an idea of these 8 different archetypes that we believe will be really unique in the league, and then let fans gravitate towards the one that they feel they want to help design, and then the design will come out of that archetype. So it'll be more akin to a video game than it will be to a normal sports league.
Excellent. All right, so regarding the voting, is it possible for an individual to carry a misproportionate voting weight? And on par with that, is it possible for voters to create an overpowered team through voting?
So, great questions. We are going to have some sort of a cap on the top fans' voting power, right? So we still kind of playing around with what that number is. But the idea is to not make this, a team run by 3 people, right? Every team should be run by the fans. So we're going to create some sort of, weighted averages to make sure that it doesn't get out of hand. And we'll be releasing that stuff. And we want fans' input on how we kind of help design that mechanic. So we'll get that involved that way. But one of the things we have talked about, which I think is really interesting, is the idea of, like in soccer, for example, you have a lot of, on individual teams, you have supporter groups, right? And so those supporter groups, even though fans of one team, they have their different chants and their different flags and their different patches and their different, all of the things that they do as their unique supporter group. So we want to kind of mimic that in the FCFL and allow supporter groups to pool their tokens and then have one vote come out of the supporter group, right? So maybe every game you would elect the president of the supporter group, and he's the one that gets to vote for your supporter group, right? Maybe you don't do that with real-time play calling, but maybe you do that for player selection, right, or coaching hiring or whatever. So the idea is to allow fans to kind of come together, even in these subgroups of teams. And so that in that regard, you could potentially have a huge supporter group that is making one vote, but it's going to be made up of all the fans that are a part of that supporter group. So that's one way that you could get kind of top-heavy. But it would be fans' choice, right? It wouldn't be because one guy owns all the tokens.
Right, yeah, that's a very interesting dynamic. That's good. Okay, so what are the kind of skill levels that we're looking at being involved in these teams in the FCFL? Like, what kinds of players are eligible for tryouts? Where are these guys coming from?
So the players themselves, I'd say we're going to probably be a step up from where we were in the IFL. So the IFL players, we had multiple guys that were, either on NFL rosters or had NFL tryouts and got cut. All of these guys have played, D1, D2 football. These are athletes. I would not want to get on the field with these guys. These are true athletes, right? So we sent, just from the Screaming Eagles, we sent 2 guys to the CFL, and 1 guy got an NFL tryout after playing for our Salt Lake team, right? So these are very, very talented guys. Most of the guys in arena football and indoor football, they're the guys that are either an inch too short or a step too slow, or their arms are too short for playing cornerback, right? Like these measurements that the NFL has got super into, where some of these guys just don't even get a shot just because they don't have the measurables, right? But they can play football. But I think what's going to be interesting for us is, we are creating a league, and we haven't even really touched on this. We're creating a league not only for fans, we're creating a league for players, right? The idea is that we're going to give players a platform. Instead of playing in front of 6,000 people in middle of nowhere, Iowa, you're going to be playing in front of hundreds of thousands of people across the world. We really think we can actually get a much higher level of talent. So guys that, would normally play in the NFL or maybe played a couple of years in the NFL and then decided, got cut and said, hey, I'm going to move on with my career. They may say, you know what? I want to go play in that league because that's exactly what I want to do, is connect with the fans and build my brand. With fans getting a chance to select these guys, I think fans are going to look a lot at their physical ability, but fans are going to want to see these guys on camera, right? This is not only sports, this is entertainment, and this is a new level of entertainment. And fans are going to want to connect with these guys. They're going to want guys that are going to be willing to reach out on social media and have those conversations, and maybe even be a little controversial, right? Because that's fun, right? That creates some drama, that creates some excitement. So I think you're going to see some really big personalities in the fan-controlled football league, because fans are going to want big personalities.
Oh, yeah. I'm really interested in seeing how I saw something on your site about how you're encouraging, contests about dancing in the end zone, the touchdown celebrations and such. That's going to be really fun to see too.
Yeah, I think for us, this is unscripted football. We're even going to put a $1 million prize purse for the winning team. We want these guys to play really hard. We want this to be great competitive football. Unscripted. We're not telling these guys. Nobody's deciding who wins and loses except the guys on the field. But we believe strongly that there is an opportunity on the entertainment side to just give these guys a way to show their personality a little more, engage with the fans, connect with the fans. We're going to have a sideline camera. We call it the confession booth, right? So you guys can go into the booth and talk to the fans and say whatever they want, and then come back out and keep playing, right? So really give them a way to show their personality, connect with fans, and build relationships, and build their brand. I mean, at the end of the day, these players, there's only 250 guys a year that get a shot to go from college to the NFL. That's not a lot of guys. There's 10,000 guys more that graduate, right, playing football. So there's a huge amount of guys out there that I think have tons of talent, tons of personality, and they need a place to play. And that's what we want to be. We want to be that place for them to come play.
Excellent. All right, last thing, are there any hot news updates that you have, or any message that you want to give directly to the fans or anything?
Yeah, look, unfortunately, I can't say who it is, but we have a really, really exciting broadcast partner. This is going to be a multi-year deal. This is going to be kind of a fully integrated and immersive experience with their platform, and something transformative. Right? There's never been. I think what we're trying to do. There's never been a sports league that was built from the ground up with technology in mind, with blockchain in mind, with tokenization in mind, right? So we get a chance to kind of reimagine what sports would be in the digital age and create a league that connects digitally the way the NFL should, the way the NBA should. Those leagues aren't going away. I'm never going to stop being an NFL fan, but they are lacking in terms of their connection to fans, because they've had to kind of retrofit everything into their league, right? We don't have to retrofit. We get to build on top of it. We get to seamlessly integrate technology into this league. So I'm incredibly excited about that broadcast partner. I think it's going to be really just an amazing announcement for everybody when we do that. And then the other one is the big agency partner. I mean, this is kind of a stamp for us that when everybody sees it, they're going to be like, wow, I mean, these guys can go out, they can connect to any brand, to any partner, to any celebrity, to give us a chance to talk about the FCFL and get them involved in the league. And then the last one, which is really exciting, is a production partner. So we actually have been talking to two. We narrowed it down to one. We actually already have a long-form agreement that we're going back and forth on. These guys are going to be not only helping produce the games, but they're going to be producing, like I said, shoulder content, short-form shows, maybe some longer-form shows. The idea is to go out and create, even sell shows to Amazon and sell shows to, to Netflix and, create a lot more content around the league than just watching a game, right? The idea is to let you be immersed in this league if you want to.
Excellent. Well, thank you again for taking the time to be here with us. We really look forward to game day this summer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be great. All right. Thanks again. Take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.